some of the solutions.
Considered to be the or, even though you set up a neighborhood killed so easily. So that's very important.
Did you know half of all marriages end in divorce? The fallout on children and their relationships, the loss of business productivity from employees undergoing divorce, and the toll on friendships, all of that and more should make divorce truly the last resort. Attorney John Patti often sits in the middle of the mess. And our question, how does one prepare for divorce?
Well, it's always a trauma, and let's start off with that. It's usually never expected. It's something that comes upon someone almost immediately, and the first thing I always tell people is don't panic. Don't run away with assets. Don't liquidate assets. Take inventory of exactly what's in your accounts, what's in your house, your jewelry, your cars, whatever. So that's really your first step. You want to take an inventory of everything you own, and you want to get all your financial documents ready for whomever the attorney that you select.
Mm-hmm. I'm imagining that in most cases divorce is not one of those snap judgment kind of things. This is something that has grown over a long period of time.
Yeah, I use the analogy of a virus, and after a while the relationship becomes toxic, and it doesn't happen in a snap. Infidelity doesn't happen in a snap. It's usually an indication that something went very wrong years ago, and the other person is trying to satisfy themselves some other way.
Mm-hmm. By the time they get to you, have most folks gone through the third-party counseling, those kinds of things, or do people go that route for the most part?
No, they don't have to, and a lot of people don't, only because by the time they get to me, they've usually crossed the Rubicon in their mind. They've usually decided at that point it's over. So when they come to me, we're already talking strategy, we're talking about marshaling assets, we're talking about protecting the children if necessary, and sometimes we're talking about protecting the client.
Mm-hmm. You know, 30, 40 years ago, divorce was a very rare thing, and women were very reluctant to do that, but that's changed.
Oh, it has changed. And a lot has to do with the economics as well. There's a study out of the University of Virginia, Project Marriage, that talks about since the Great Recession, there are certain factors that will lead people to a divorce more than others. Foreclosure, can't pay the bills, credit card debt, are all factors that will disintegrate a marriage. So it really hasn't helped in this day and age that we have economics to deal with on top of everything else.
Mm-hmm. There's an old song, R&B song, that goes, it's cheaper to keep her, and something that a lot of guys perhaps joke about, but in fact, divorce is a very expensive proposition.
It is an expensive proposition, but again, using the sickness analogy, is it cheaper to be sick and not go to the doctor? And the answer is no. You want to be happy. We all have a right to be happy in our lives, and my suggestion is if you have a marriage that is not well, that is toxic, you need to end it and move on with your life.
Okay. When you talk about the stress level, we were talking about this earlier in a divorce, this manifests itself in so many different ways in your life. Productivity at work, opportunities for business, all kinds of things that your mind is totally focused on the relationship. Have you found in many of the couples that you deal with that that's the case?
Sure. Just take professionals, white-collar professionals. We use our minds for a living. If we're not able to focus on exactly what we have to do, and we're thinking about our wife, we're thinking about infidelity, we're thinking about economics, how am I going to do this? We will not be able to focus, and therefore our productivity will suffer. The same thing with the construction worker who has to really think and be creative on the job and put things together and solve solutions. Again, a divorce will disintegrate and work on a person's psyche to the fact where they won't be able to focus and they won't be able to concentrate.
Are there special caveats for women, given that men are generally the bigger wage earners, women are generally end up with the kids? Are there special considerations that women should take note of, preparations they should make?
Well, look, a lot of women come in, and it's correct, without categorizing one gender over another. It's still, the women are still the financially supported spouse. I have a lot of cases where the women are the supporting spouse, but for the majority of them, they are supported. The caveats are this: don't buy into the manipulation that goes on. I was talking before, some of the things that women buy into is the men will tell them, I'm going to take the kids from you. And the women react. And all that is someone poking to find out where you're going to wince. again, my conversation with women is always, don't panic, relax, okay? It is going to be a little rocky for a while, and then it's going to smooth out. No one's going to take your children. He's going to continue working. That's another thing people say is, I'll just quit my job. No, you won't. Because if you quit your job, we're still going to hold you to that income. So these are a lot of concerns that women have. If I go out there, are my kids going to come with me? Am I going to be financially able to have some type of comparable standard of living? And the answer is usually yes.
Well, that's good to know for a lot of women, no doubt. But John, thanks for coming on and joining us. Insightful stuff.
Brian, thanks for having me.